Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to do some historical detective work. We're untangling the super complex world of ancient Arabia, mapping out both the land and the intricate family trees to give you a clear, straightforward guide to this amazing period of history.
You know that feeling, right? You're reading a history book, trying to follow a story, and you just get buried under this avalanche of names and places you've never heard before. It feels like you're trying to navigate a new city without a map. Who's who, where's where. It can be really frustrating.
Well, you are definitely not alone in feeling that way. These family trees are complicated and the place names are ancient. But today's explainer, this is your map. We're going to give you a simple framework to decode this whole fascinating world, starting, of course, with the land itself.
Right, so before we can really get to know the people, we have to understand the place they called home. So first up, let's get our bearings and look at the geography of the Arabian Peninsula.
The first thing you've got to know is that Arabia is a peninsula. And what's that? It's really simple. It's just a piece of land that's surrounded by water on three sides, but still connected to a bigger piece of land on the fourth.
And for the Arabian Peninsula, those three bodies of water are absolutely key. If you look at a map, over to the east you've got the Persian Gulf. Down south there's the Arabian Sea, and running all the way up the west coast you have the Red Sea. This geography is what gave the region its famous shape and really influenced its entire history.
Okay, so this huge peninsula was broken up into a few main regions. You had the fertile lands of Yemen, way down in the south, the massive central plateau called Najd, and the coastal plain of Tihama. But for the story we're telling today, the one you really need to remember is the Hijaz, over in the west. This was the heartland, home to the cities of Mecca, Medina, and Taif, which, as you know, is where everything is about to happen.
So, now that we've got a handle on the where, let's get to the really juicy part, the who. We're zooming in from the map of the land to the map of the people who lived there.
Now, ancient Arab historians made a really clear first cut when they talked about their own history. They divided all Arabs into two massive groups. First, you have the Arab Bayida, which means the extinct Arabs. These are ancient legendary tribes you might have heard of, like Ad and Thamud, who basically vanished from history. Then you have the second group, the Arab Baqiya, or the remaining Arabs. And as the name suggests, their family line survived, and they're the ancestors of all the Arabs who came after.
And it's this second group, the remaining Arabs, that we're going to focus on. Because this group wasn't just one big happy family. Nope, it splits again into two really distinct and incredibly important branches, and the relationship pretty much defines all of ancient Arabian history.
And this is where we hit a really fascinating puzzle. So the remaining Arabs split in two. On one side, you have the Qahtani Arabs. They're known as the pure or original Arabs. But on the other side are the Adnani Arabs, and this group includes the ancestors of the Prophet Muhammad himself. But here's the twist. They're called the Arabized Arabs. So wait a minute. How could the Prophet's own ancestors be considered Arabized?
Right? How could the Prophet's family, living right there in the heart of Arabia, be called Arabized? Weren't they already Arab? Well, the answer is an amazing story that goes way, way back.
Let's just tackle that question head on. Why were the Adnanis of Makkah, people so central to Arabia, considered to have become Arab instead of being original Arabs from the start? It all comes down to the journey of one very famous family.
The story actually starts outside of Arabia, over in what's now Iraq, with Abraham. He wasn't an Arab. Following God's command, he brought his wife Hajar and their baby son, Ishmael, to this totally barren, empty valley, the place that would one day become Mecca. After Abraham left them there, the miracle of the well of Zamzam happened, creating this incredible source of water. Well, that water attracted a passing tribe of original Arabs, the Banu Jurhum. With Hajar's permission, they settled nearby. So Ishmael grew up among them, he learned their language, their culture, their everything. He even married a woman from their tribe. And that's it. That's how his descendants became Arabized, by assimilating into the Arab culture that was already there.
And this prayer from the Quran, which Abraham is said to have made as he left his family, just captures the scene perfectly. You can feel it, the desolate valley and the powerful faith that kicked off this whole new chapter in history.
So let's lock this in, because it's a super important point. The term Arabized Arab isn't some kind of lesser status. It's not a judgment. It's just a historical description. It refers specifically to the descendants of Ishmael, who came from a non-Arab background but became fully integrated into the language and the culture of the Qahtani Arabs who were there first.
Okay, so that's a really cool piece of history, right? But so what? Why does this distinction between original and Arabized Arabs actually matter? How does this old family tree actually shape the bigger story? Honestly, knowing this family tree is like having the secret decoder ring for the entire social and political landscape. It suddenly explains why the big tribes in Medina, the Aus and Khazraj, were Qahtani, while the powerful Qurayshi tribe in Mecca were Adnani. This split was the source of ancient alliances, long-standing rivalries, and deep loyalties that play a central role in, well, everything that happens in the Prophet's life. The knowledge of lineage, called ilm el-ansab, wasn't just a hobby, it was a science. It was the map of their entire social world.
So, in the end, when you untangle all these ancient family trees, it shows you something really profound. History isn't just a dry list of names, dates, and battles. It's a messy, complicated, and beautiful story of families and relationships, of people moving, marrying, and making alliances. It's these connections that literally shape the world we know today. And once you have the map, that story becomes so much clearer.